Welcome to Market Money, your weekly destination for financial education, exclusive investor interviews, and insightful stock reviews. It's financial education geared towards helping you make sound financial decisions. So let's talk about what we're going to cover in today's episode. Well, before I do that, I just want to say that any information that we discuss here is for education, entertainment, and illustrative purposes only and should not be construed as professional financial advice, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell any securities. For today's episode, we're going to talk about stock splits. That's going to be our topic for this week. We'll look at the NCB Financial Group. They had their recent investor briefing where they would have gone through the financials for their Q1. So we're going to look at a high-level overview of that and talk about some of the things that stood out for us. And we're going to close out this episode with an interview with Alan McDaniel, CEO of Stationery and Office Supplies. He's no stranger to our channel, but we're going to be talking about where things are with them currently, potential plans for expansion, and some other things that we think are interesting to talk about during this time. So let's jump straight into it. Our topic for today is stock splits, and you might have heard this term before, but of course, we're going to get into a little bit of what it means for you as an investor. So a stock split is a corporate action where a company issues additional shares to its shareholders, thereby increasing the total number by a specified ratio, right? So you may hear a 5-to-1 stock split, a 10-to-1, 100-to-1. It really depends on what the company is trying to accomplish and their target in terms of potential price for the shares. So here are some reasons why they may want to split, or companies may look at stock splits. First is to boost liquidity. This is by far the number one reason you'll hear. So it could be that the shares aren't trading as often or in the volumes that they'd want. And so you see this idea where by increasing the number of shares, increasing the amount that's available to trade, then you may have investors more encouraged to trade those shares, right? Of course, so if you have 100 shares and that suddenly became 1,000, you'd be more inclined to trade with some, and so there will be more activity in the market. Next, companies may seek to look to increase their shareholder base. Some companies may have a large institutional shareholder base. It may be that their top 10 or the larger shareholders maybe don't trade the stock as much. And so to invite new shareholders or to invite those existing shareholders to sell their shares to make it available to more investors could be something that companies look at. And finally, one of the reasons why you may see a stock split is for a lower share price. So if you think about it, if a stock is trading for 1,000 Jamaican dollars and you suddenly have the opportunity to purchase it for $10 per share, you may be more inclined to purchase, or even $100 per share. It may seem, because of the lower nominal price, and an invitation for you, the investor, to purchase shares. So these are some of the reasons why companies may split. Of course, the number of reasons really depend on the company itself and what they're trying to accomplish. So let's look at an example that we recently covered on our channel. So Stationery and Office Supplies did a 9-to-1 stock split last year. So on August 2, 2023, the total number of shares would have increased from 250 million, 120,000 to 2.2 billion, 251 million, right? So essentially, the number of shares increased by 9 and the share price was reduced again by a factor of 9. I'm going to break that down a little bit. All right, so let's say that you had 100 shares. Let's say before the split, you were a SOS shareholder and you had 100 shares. Let's say it was trading at $27 per share before the split. That value of those shares would be $2,700. If you look at the split or take the split into consideration, you would then have 900 shares. Your share price would go down to $3 per share, but it would still be $2,700 in value, right? So you notice now with 900 more shares, if you wanted to trade with 200 or 300 shares to take profits, to to maybe exit some of that position, you know, have the opportunity to do it without thinking, well, I only have 100 shares. I may not want to sell too much of that, right? But the main thing here to realize is that the split increases the number of shares, lowers the price, and of course, companies can also do what is called a reverse split, where they essentially reduce the number of shares by a particular factor. And so that is something that is possible as well. All right, so what you're seeing here is a chart on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So at the point that the split occurred, it may look like, well, you'd see the price go from, we're seeing here $26.75, and then you see CA, that is a symbol for corporate action, meaning something took place there. And then you start seeing it traded for, I believe, about $2.90 or thereabout at that point. And from that point forward, it's trading at this new price, and the number of shares would have expanded, right? So whenever you see this on a stock chart, it's likely a stock split that would have taken place, because of course with our circuit breaker, the price is not allowed to go more than a certain amount per day. So when it has this large fall, you should look out for some type of split or action that has led to this reduction in price. All right, so that's it for stock splits. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them as well. I see your comments in the chat, everyone. We're going to be speaking with Alan soon, so keep those questions coming. So let's have a look at NCB Financial Group. So this is one of those companies that have long awaited to review their stock. A lot to cover, so I'm going to try and do it in a very short time. But the NCB Financial Group consists of various segments. We're seeing some of them here. So you have consumer and SME banking, payment services, corporate and commercial banking, treasury, wealth management, life insurance, general insurance, etc. Right? So the financial group consists of various business segments, and all of that leads to the number of revenues they're able to generate. And so it's many different business lines to understand. So of course, we're not going to go in depth. We're going to focus on some of the fundamental details of the stock. So this would be their performance for their Q1 that would have ended December 2023. And what you're seeing here is a total of 34 billion in revenue across all segments, notable being life and health insurance, that's 31 billion, general insurance, and of course, consumer and SME banking was about 10 billion. We have operating expenses for the period being 26.1 billion, profit before tax of 8.35 billion, and net profits of 5.97 billion. We saw earnings per share of $1.32. That's tremendous improvement from the same period last year. The stock price, however, has been trading somewhere between the 60 to 70 range for about the last 12 months. We'll get into that detail a little bit more. But the share price as at today, at the point of this recording, is $68. Their total assets stand at 2.2 trillion, equity at 196 billion, liabilities of 2 trillion, and then of course cash flow from operations would have been 19 billion, right? So we're seeing improvement in the overall performance. Of course, we saw where they would have gone through a number of cost cutting measures last year, prioritizing dividend payments, prioritizing cash flow generation, and just overall efficiency in the company. So it's no surprise that there's a turnaround. I'm expecting that there'll be more to come, but this is what we're seeing so far for their financial year. What I thought was notable was in their capital and liquidity section, they would have highlighted some changes that took place. So it says during the quarter, additional shares were allotted to executives and former executives, resulting in a 4.9 billion increase in share capital. Issued and fully paid up ordinary shares increased by 78 million shares to a total of 2.5 billion shares. And then, of course, subsequently, 480,900 new shares were issued in January 2024 to a former executive of the group, increasing the total ordinary shares to 2.5 billion, right? So some shares were added. So that would be something to note if you're an existing shareholder. They're going to be meeting on February 16th to consider a dividend. I almost said to confirm a dividend payment, but we'll see what happens after that meeting, and we'll see what that dividend is. But they would have paid their first dividend in a number of years last year. And so with all the changes that they've been making, they're of course hoping to continue that trend. This is a listing of their top 10 shareholders as at December 31st. So we see AIC Barbados Limited having 49% of the shares. And of course, we're seeing the rest of them there. In terms of their stock price, it's been down almost 12% in the last 12 months. I believe we saw a high of, well, close to $80 during the year, but mostly has been for the last, I'd say 3 to 6 months, around the $60 to $70 range, as you can see from the chart. From about October, November till February, we're still in that range. In terms of some statistics for the company, so the trading range today was somewhere between $6 to $8 and $69.75. The 52-week range, which I mentioned over the last year, up to $79 and as low as $55. So of course, if you were able to purchase at the low, you'd see some gains there. If you purchase at the high, you'd be down, as I said, about 12% for the year. With the additional shares that were issued, the market cap currently stands at 173 billion and shares outstanding is 2.5 billion. As we're seeing here, week to date, up 0.06%, month to date, 2.3%, quarter and year to date, 3.84%, right? So that's what we're seeing for NCB. So I think it's quite interesting what we've seen from them, the number of changes and the impact that we're seeing to the company's performance. I was interested to see how things would start to progress coming out of those changes, but we're seeing it in the results that you're starting to see the impact of those measures. Of course, they would have costs in terms of settling, I guess you'd say, packages for former employees that have done a fair amount of downsizing in terms of making some of their teams smaller. And so, of course, those expenses would be expected to decrease. But they did mention that as a part of the quarter, there would be a new financial year for them. And so there was a segment of salaries that were negotiated to be a little bit higher. Of course, you expect every new year some persons may be eligible for a small increase, as some companies do that to keep up with inflation, so to speak. So that's what we saw. And so I think we're going to see a year of better performance for them. Of course, we'll see how that results in trading of the shares, stock price movement, etc. So we'll see how that goes. So we're at the point where we're going to invite our guests to join us. Where we're going to invite our guests to join us.
Jermaine, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm actually getting quite a feedback. I'm actually hearing it quite through.
Do you have it open on another tab, maybe?
I'm actually hearing it quite through.
Do you have it open on another tab, maybe?
I do not, to be honest with you.
Do you have it open on? I'm not sure where that is. Let me check on my side. Not sure where that is. Let me check on my side.
Yeah.
Not sure where that is. Let me know if it's still happening. That's better. All right, let's give Mr. McDaniel 1 second while we try to reconnect him. I think he might have been frozen. And it's so interesting how these things happen live, right? So let's give it a few minutes and we should see him shortly. But let me know if you have any questions for him. We do have a set number of questions that we're going to go through. And so it's going to be important to get your questions in while you still can. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Pretty clear now.
Okay, perfect. All right. How are you doing, Alan?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us.
Anytime. Always an enjoyment.
Great, great. Happy to hear. So let's get right into it. How are things with SOS? Where Mr. McDaniel 1 second while we try to reconnect him. I think he might have been frozen. And it's so interesting how these things happen live, right?
Always.
So let's give it a few minutes and we should see him shortly. But let me know if you have any questions for him. We do have a set number of questions that we're going to go through. And so it's going to be important to get your questions in while you still can. All right, Alan, I think we're having the same issue. So I'm going to give you a call to see if I can help you troubleshoot it, okay?
Yes, I'm here still hearing you coming through double.
All right. How are you doing, Alan?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
All right, let's try this one more time. Let me know if you're able to hear me okay. Audio check for the chat. Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that
Perfect.
is excellent.
Everything's cleaned up now.
Here we go. Okay, perfect. So welcome again, Alan. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So let's start with how SOS is projected to be doing for the end of 2023. The last report that we saw were your 9 months results. So we're anxiously awaiting Q4. So give us somewhat of a preview as to how you've ended the year, just overall. You don't have to get into any specific numbers, but what's your take on your performance for the quarter and the year?
Well, as you know, with JC, we'll have a fit.
All right, let's try this one more time.
Any numbers?
Let me know if you're able to hear me okay. Audio check for the chat.
You obviously have seen all numbers up to the end of the third quarter. I think we were totaling about 1.5 billion in revenues at that point. Pre-tax profit about 330 million. And we're on pace to breaking our
Right.
all-time
Can you
highs
hear me?
in terms of revenues
Yes,
and
that is
profits.
excellent.
Everything's cleaned up now.
Here we go. Okay, perfect. So welcome again, Alan. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So let's start with how SOS is projected to be doing for the end of 2023. The last report that we saw were your 9 months results. So we're anxious to see Q4. So give us somewhat of a preview as to how you've ended the year, just overall. You don't have to get into any specific numbers, but what's your take on your performance for the quarter and the year?
Well, as you know, JC will have a fit.
All right, let's try this one more time.
Any numbers.
Let me know if you're
as of
able to
right
hear me
now,
okay.
we
Audio
had
check
a
for the chat.
future. You obviously have.
All right, everyone, apologies for that. This has never happened before. So I've asked Alan to restart his PC and we're going to try one more time. Okay. Thank you for your understanding. I'm so happy this is not a brand new channel. So you'll bear with me. This is what happens when we do shows live, and I know you prefer live, so we're just gonna roll with it. All right. Yeah, that's very weird. So I am going live on IG as well. So I double checked to ensure that I'm not hearing anything from that window. And so I don't believe that's it. And so, yeah, I'm just very curious to see what's happening. Yeah. All right, so I'm just acknowledging all the questions in the chat. So I'm marking them now, and when we have the chance to get through them, we will. And I'm really appreciating the patience of Alan as well to keep trying. Greatly appreciate that. Renee, if you're watching and able to apologize to our IG viewers, please let me know as well. Yeah, so I was thinking of ending the IG side. So I'm going to try that, Philip, end the stream on IG, but I've done it before and it is muted. I'm looking at it now, so I don't think it's that side, but let me try to end it there and see if that makes a difference. So if he restarts and it's same the issue, then we'll close off the IG stream, unfortunately, and see if that makes a difference. But I'm not sure how to restart it once I've stopped it. So I have a big edit to make from this video after we're done. All right. So for those persons just joining, we're waiting for Alan to restart his PC and try again. So So Jason, I'm using StreamYard. It's an application we've been using since 2020 from our very first live. So we're quite familiar with it, but we recently started to stream to IG. I don't think that's an issue, but it's still a fairly new process, so you never know. But as I said, IG is muted, but let us try to see if it happens again. So if he rejoins and we're hearing it, we may just disconnect IG and ask persons. Well, let me do that to be safe. So persons watching on IG, we're going to ask you to please join us over YouTube so that we can confirm that it's not what's causing the issue, right? So I'm going to end the stream over IG so that when Mr. McDaniel joins, we can confirm that IG is not the issue. All right, thank you so much for your understanding. All All right, so I'm seeing your questions. Get through them shortly. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. Hi, Alan.
I really hope that's working now.
Let's see. It usually takes a minute or so, but yeah, let's hope that we're all good. All right.
So far, pretty clean.
Okay. All right. So let us try this from the top one more time. So welcome, Alan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. So let's start by having a look at how you expect to close out 2023. So what can we expect to see for those results? Now, I know you can't give us any specifics, but how are they in your perspective?
Well, coming into the fourth quarter, you would have seen from our third quarter results that we are on pace to actually have our best year ever. So that is a positive going forward, both in terms of revenues and profits. So to say that we've had a phenomenal year would be an understatement for us. We've worked hard and we've pushed it, and we think that everybody will be quite pleased and happy with our final results once we're able to release the final end of year results at the end of this month. Actually, I think we're due to release on the 29th.
All right, awesome. So what can we most look forward to in terms of, I guess, either business lines or highlights that we may see something about in those results?
All right, you're definitely trying to get me in trouble here. One of the things that we're always proud of is that we have ventured into various avenues, whether it be our warehousing material, Seek, our new Evolve line. We've branched out into quite a few new areas. And I think one of the best things for us is that there's positive growth in all of those areas, all our new areas, plus our existing work that we've been doing, whether it be document destruction, regular furniture sales, office supplies. But one of the things I'm most proud of as well is our regional expansion that we've been able to do so far in 2023.
Let's talk about Seek for a little bit. Give us a little bit of a background and give us where we're headed with the Seek brand.
Well, Seek was acquired by us back in 2018, I believe it was. Now, they are a company or a manufacturing company that we used to purchase quite a bit of products from. They do quite a bit of books that we used to use for the private sector, but we never used to focus so much on the back to school. When the opportunity presented itself that we could acquire it, one of the things that was very beneficial was to be able to get into the back to school market with the exercise books, ruled paper, ruled pads, things like that. So we were able to take it on, and our plan was to expand it and just to continue to grow the brand, because we actually think it's an excellent brand. It's very well known in Jamaica. It's Jamaican made, and there's very few manufacturers of books here. And since then, I mean, of course, through COVID, we had our down years with school being closed and everything, and that actually forced us to focus on the products through Seek that were wanted by the private sector. So we expanded that, and now back with school back on, everything has continued to grow. We had our highest ever year in revenues in Seek back in 2022, and I believe, if the numbers are correct, by the third quarter of 23, we had almost surpassed them. So we're expecting to have our record high in Seek sales for the. You'll see that end of 2023 results come out.
All right, so let's talk about Seek a little bit more. So you're selling Seek just to Jamaica, or that's a brand that you're positioning to other countries?
Well, can I tell you, our capacity with our machinery right now will not allow us to go to other islands. We still have so much market share here in Jamaica to focus on, and that has been our main focus. I mean, right now we are way behind. We have a lot of competition being imported. We do have a lot of support from local distributors who want to sell the Jamaican product, and it is something that we are pushing and trying to grow. And to tell you firsthand that something that hasn't been advertised yet is that we have actually committed to an expansion of Seek, and we have actually ordered and are in, at some point by the mid of this year, have bringing in new machinery to be able to grow our product base, to grow our output, and we expect that will allow us to double our revenues in Seek by the end of this year.
All right, that was going to be my next question because it sounds like you're saying that you have demand that you can't currently supply. So I was going to ask you how you plan to address that need. So it sounds like there is something to look forward to there.
That is absolutely the case. To be perfectly honest, there are people who would buy more. There are more clients out there. We do not focus right now on the northern side of the island, northwestern or eastern. I mean, majority of our business right now is within Kingston, and we believe that there's just so much more market share. There's so much more. There's so much more available out there for us to do here locally that we would never even consider going regionally right now if we couldn't even supply our own markets.
So wait, you're telling me the numbers that we see for Seek in the report is just Kingston?
Pretty much just Kingston.
Wow.
I will tell you that. Yes, so we do have our distributors. We have a couple of people that distribute Seek for us in Montego Bay, in Mandeville, but I think at the same time, we could be doing more for them. We could also be looking at other persons in the Grill, the Western Tip, Eastern Tip, and other locations. So we really see that there is a future with Seek, and there is just so much more we can do with it, not only in just production, but in terms of creating new products. And yes, there's a lot of demand for other things that people are no longer able to make here.
Okay, care to say what any of those things are?
No, we can get into it, but eventually. But right now, our main focus is getting our machinery for our back to school up, so that we can make sure that we have products on hand ready for whoever needs it, as opposed to being making them to order. We're trying to do our best right now to stock everything that we can. But as I said, the demand is pretty high for it, and we believe that getting extra machinery, which I would say would at least 5 times our output. Let's just put it that way. So a roll of paper presently, we can convert into some kind of ruled paper in a day and a half. Now that's a 3/4 ton of paper. The new machinery that we're looking at capacity could do 5 rolls in a day. So we've really invested, and we put a good amount of money into bringing certain select machines here that will definitely help us and generate more.
Okay. So in terms of, I wanted to understand a little bit about your footprint in terms of locations. Are there, how many locations do you operate out of now? And are there any plans to add additional locations?
So presently we operate from Beechwood Avenue, our Kingston location. Right there, we occupy 4 different properties, which are all joint. So the actual campus, I like to refer to it as, is about 1.5 acres worth. We have probably about 80,000 square feet in terms of warehouse storage there now. We're in Montego Bay. We have an office there, as well as we have just opened up a new 3,000 square foot warehouse down there. And within the last 3 to 4 months, we have actually purchased 2 new properties in Kingston for continued warehousing. And well, as I mentioned, Seek, we're going to need more space to be able to continue the manufacturing. So we have presently in the process, and we've just signed off on a new almost 10,000 square foot warehouse that will be putting up on another property on Collins Green.
Okay, great. That sounds like you're preparing to increase capacity because you're projecting more growth.
Well, there's growth in everything. So, for example, the machinery we're bringing for Seek, we need at least 5,000 square feet just to house that. And we expect with the additional products that we will be able to be turning over, we're going to need warehousing for that. We're going to need additional space, additional manpower. And the regional distribution is doing very well right now. And we believe that we need to be able to have more stock on hand to be able to supply everything that's being asked of us.
Okay. So in terms of these, so you do, I imagine, delivery for clients. You have some clients that you have relationships with to provide their goods and services. Talk to us about that side of the business. How is that managed now, and what plans do you have for that to grow?
Are you talking about regionally?
Well, give me both. Sure.
Well, I mean, that is our business as it is. Our clients and our business partners, they do what they do, whether it be BPOs, whether it be IT, whether it be whatever industry that they're in. We partner with them to make sure they're up and running, and we not only can supply them everything they need to house their staff, but everything they need for day-to-day operational needs. I mean, probably the one thing we don't do is actual computers. But other than that, we supply and provide everything that they need. And even regionally, we have clients that are growing themselves and they're opening up within other islands. And there's a comfort level for them as they're focusing on what their business is to say, hey, this is what I need. You know what we need. You know our requirements, and they're purchasing from us to regionally for their other operations that are open throughout the Caribbean.
Okay, so in terms of your capacity to now deliver to the clients that you serve, are there any specific investments there in terms of your internal resources being able to deliver to those clients?
Well, put it this way, right now we have increased our fleet. So we have at least 18 delivery trucks that go out every single day. Now that goes from vehicles. So we have teams that are just support, and what we call our technicians that go on the road to do repairs, to go and help, to do assembly. We have delivery trucks. I think it's about 7 or 8 5-ton trucks that we used to deliver island-wide, into Montego Bay, wherever it is, for projects, as well as small Suzuki fleets, for example. And this allows us to get to anyone, anywhere, anytime. So yes, we're always adding to our fleet because we believe that our reputation of getting goods out within pretty much a 48-hour period is very key. And for those persons to be able to rely on us and to know what will be there on time and efficiently is very important to our business.
So I can say, personal testimony here, we did come to your store on Beach Road, ordered something, and we did get it within 48 hours. So that's pretty cool to see and experience that service. And of course, I was able to get that short tour. So greatly appreciate that. I just wanted to put that in.
I think you've been a really bad person to give bad service though. But we like to make sure that we treat everybody the same. And I mean, that's just part of that's our plan. And what we do is not rocket science, to be honest. We have products that everybody needs. They're very, very simple, very easy. And so the people don't have to stress about getting it, setting it up, warrantying it. We're there to make sure all that's done for them.
Yeah, I really liked the options that were there. I'm actually sitting in what's supposed to be my wife's chair. It's actually more comfortable than mine, so I'm using it now. But I really like the options that are there, and it really does feel like you're able to address most, if not all, of the needs that your different clients may have. So it's good.
Well, on that note, I would even tell you, I mean, we do already have the largest showroom in terms of office supplies on the island, that's for sure. And I would imagine once a lot of our expansions are done here, we already have plans to almost double our showroom, because even when you came in, I would say that we still have 30-40% of the products that were not on the showroom, that were not visible to you right away. I mean, things that persons know we have and will order, but we want to make sure that everything is there. And it's a one-stop shop. You come in, you walk, you touch, you feel, and you get exactly what you want, and with no surprise.
Yes, and I can say as well that for years now, you've been one of the companies I noticed that actually puts work and effort into their website, because I do see a fair amount of options on your website as well, which is definitely a good, pleasant surprise to see.
Well, we've been working on that website for some time. And I will say internally, the persons who are in charge of it, which in this case is Mr. Stephen Todd and Kelly Machette, that they're working on that, and they want to make sure that we have that e-commerce up by, I'd say, by the latest the second quarter of this year, or the end of the second quarter. So that is another avenue and another way in which we plan to generate more revenue and allow persons who, we're now in the 21st century, to get there and order online and just have something delivered without even having to leave their house.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, it just helps to be able to see what's available. Even if you can't do the full e-commerce experience, just the fact that you can see it, for a lot of persons like me who decide on what I'm buying late in the night, where I can't actually go to a store, I like to at least preview what I'm going to buy. Then I'll go and say, okay, I've narrowed down my options. I want to look at these 2 or 3. Correct. So that really does help. So the last question that I have for you is relating to your plans for regional expansion. So right now, what are the maybe countries or territories about, and what can we expect for 2024?
Well, prior to the beginning of 23, we did regional work, especially with clients, some distributors that we were able to fulfill their needs in a very short time frame. A lot of the smaller islands can't afford to bring in container loads of any one product. So what we were able to offer to them was a mixed container, stationery, chairs, cabinets, whatever it was, at reasonable prices that could be shipped to them within a week, get to them within 4 to 7 days. That's depending on the shipping lines themselves. And going into 2023, we decided that we were going to do a push for the regional. And I'm happy to say, well, we know about Apex, who's in Cayman. We know about the Office of Authority, who's in Trinidad. And we've actually just signed another dealer for us, which is Decor Office, which is in St. Lucia. And closing off 2023, we had done 7 containers regionally. This is quite significant for us, and these are persons who are just purchasing products to resell. They're learning and they're getting into the furniture market. We support them with drawings, designs, and all those needed options that for a selling point. And we are looking to continue to increase that. Having done quite a few containers here in January already, we're already looking to surpass our regional output for 2024.
Oh, interesting. So let me get to some of the questions that we have from our community here. We'll start with Philip, who's asking, has the company been benefiting from the new hotels being built throughout the country?
Absolutely. So, for example, the hotels, even though they're tourist resorts and there's a lot more focus on other things, to be honest, to keeping the tourists happy, there's always some kind of office work that we do with them. And I think this can be seen in our Montego Bay branch, which I believe it was about 40% increase in 2023, so that would be their main side of the island. They are the ones who deal with all the resort hotels. And again, to have a hub, to have an office on the north coast of the island really helps for them to get their quick deliveries. And yes, so the hotels, any kind of business is always good for us, but we definitely focus on the hotels and their continued support.
Right. Next question is, what is the effect of the 3M deal, or what effect is the 3M deal expected to have on the bottom line?
The thing about what we do here is that we do several avenues, and each avenue, the more we can grow, the more that it helps our bottom line. So even if it's a 5% or 10% of our overall business, that is significant, especially when every avenue is increasing. Now, 3M is a huge worldwide brand name. They make absolutely some of the best products that's available. And to be able to be their distributor here is going to be extremely good for us. The tapes, the different products, office supply products that they do are just well known and people want them by name. Now, we are getting into it now. We always sold 3M products before, but now as a distributor, we're going to be expected to house a lot more products, a lot more SKUs, and we believe that it will definitely benefit. And I would imagine our 3M sales, we're expecting to go up at least 50% year on year.
Okay. Has the Apex and Office Authority partnerships been a major profit driver for the company?
I would say they are definitely helping. The Office Authority, which my final numbers were, I believe, 6 containers went to them last year. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you can start selling our products in a different location, somewhere we're not expected to, all those add-ons are just great for revenues. It is giving us the publicity. It's giving us another avenue for revenues. So is it our main focus? No. But is it adding to our bottom line and increasing revenues? Absolutely. As a whole, I would say maybe it was around 200,000 US last year in terms of regional sales. But if you're talking about 200,000 over 20,000 the year before, that's quite a significant increase. And if we can continue to increase it, it'll just continue to help our revenues.
All right. Devon is asking if you have any acquisition that you're actively working on and what method of payment is being considered, if so.
Devon, well, we're always looking at things. I can definitely tell you that there are a few projects sitting on my desk right now, and just depending on the level what it is. So, for example, our cash flow right now is quite substantial for us, and if it is something that we can do out of cash, we would prefer to. We prefer to not take on any further debt until it's really necessary. But there are some major options that are on the table that we would be looking at some kind of bond or some kind of other way to raise the funds for it. And when the time comes up, we'll make the right decision on how we can best handle it and pay it back.
All right, good stuff. So Sean is asking, can we expect some bigger dividends from SOS this year?
One thing I can proudly say is that ever since we've listed, we've always paid dividends. Whether we're going to be able to increase it or not, we're going to continue to pay it. It is something that we believe we need to pay out, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we have cash to continue to increase the business. I think it would not be logical to overpay and then have to start borrowing, which would just diminish our returns and our profits at the end of the year. And I think that's very important to everybody and everybody who's a part of the business. So I will say that we're going to continue to pay. The amounts will be subject to the time.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Limitless is asking, why did you choose to put the split record date so soon after the AGM? Given there was a delay in posting that split was approved, shareholders were not given much time to qualify for the split. I guess he's saying based on the time that he chose to split, persons coming onto the AGM would not be able to have time to own shares and be able to benefit.
Well, of course, we had to announce that we were having a meeting to discuss and to present the option to have a stock split to the board. I believe, and don't quote me, but there is a particular time in which the JSE insists that we get that split done once it has been approved. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it had something to do with the rules of the JSE and when the announcement had to be made and when the actually split must be done.
Okay, so you're pretty much just trying to stay within that guideline and report within.
Following the JSE rules. It's very important for us to make sure we have a good relationship with them, make sure that we're doing everything by the book. As I'm sure you can see that those who don't do by the book run into quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Philip is asking, how about twice yearly dividends? That's a lot of cash on hand.
Yes, of course. And we've actually spoken about that. I believe we tend to have a dividend payment mid-year. Sometimes it rolls over into early part of next year, but it's a tendency to see how the first half of the year is going to allow us to maybe pay a further one at the second half of the year, but it also depends on the need for the cash flow. And but we're always thinking about that as opposed to just one big lump. We do prefer to pay it out in two installments, but again, it really just depends on how the flow is going and what we foresee we need the cash for.
Okay, it makes sense. Philip is asking, you mentioned not wanting to split to a point where the nominal price was below your IPO price. Now at $1.60 to $1.90, SOS trades below that number. Does that concern you?
Not at all. When we first did this stock split, I believe at the time it was $3 plus at the time of the split. Since then, there has been a trend downwards. And yes, you can see where it's been in the $1.60 to $1.90 region in recent times. But at the same time, where it is, the initial thought was not to put a split there, but it has come down and we have to deal with that. But at the same time, every time I have to work out in my head what is actually compared to before the split, and I always have to multiply up by 9. We're still happy where we are. That $1.90 region puts us in at about a $17 pre-stock split figure. So we're still happy where we are, and we still feel justified in our valuation, and that we believe we are worth more. And I think our work coming up, you'll see that, and I think everyone will agree with that.
All right. Philip is asking, do you have any competition concerns regarding Total Office's likely expansion plans and given their pending IPO on the JSE?
Like everybody else, there's always somebody else. There's always the next company. There's always the next big thing. We believe that what we're doing it right. We're doing it the right way. We have our following of customers who believe in us. We've done nothing to let anybody down. And we believe that there is space for competition. We're not afraid of competition. I mean, prior, when we were first listed, we actually heard of other companies who said they wanted to list. Since then, I've heard about several companies who say they want to list, and none of that's really happened. So to say we're afraid of competition, we're not. We're here. We do what we want to do in terms of providing a good service and a good product to our customers. And that really has nothing to do with them going on the JSE or not. We just believe that we know who we are, we know what we're about, and we will continue to do our best.
All right. So I think on that note, it's always good to have a company that you can compare, right? So having someone else from that same industry may give you a basis to be able to say, where you stand. Because when companies are private, you can't see their numbers, so you don't know maybe where you stand in terms of like market share or numbers, etc. So I think it.
You're absolutely correct. And I mean, we've looked at that and we've even spoken to Staten to see if there's any possible way of getting some kind of comparisons. There really hasn't been, because office supplies is broken down so
Yeah, there are a
much.
lot of people in the
A lot
space.
of people, a lot of different products. Metal products range from everything in office supplies to other industries as well. Um, for what we do, for the size of our fleet, we have 170 employees now, and if I was to compare, our nearest competitor has about 50.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can do, and I know what we can do with what people can do with 50 people. So there is a basis for my knowledge in terms of where we are and how we do compared to everybody. And I also look at the fact that so many of our competitors have shifted away from office supplies and furniture into drywall and into turnkey products. It lets us really believe that we are doing it the right way and that we still have a very decent market share, and that with our revenues growing, we just believe our market share is growing as well.
Okay. So this question is related by Devon. I think you've addressed it. So we can move to the next one. Sean is asking why are your prices not shown on the website, and he does not understand why Jamaican companies don't put prices for their products on our website. Alan did address this though, Sean. So it's something that he mentioned is being worked on, and he's hoping that the full e-commerce solution should be available soon. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, just there is also, I mean, this may sound kind of strange, but there's a follow tendency in this country as well. So if we start before we're ready to go e-commerce and start posting prices of $2, I promise you tomorrow morning, whether it's on the website or just in office, the competitors will be at $1.99. It's just what it is. And I think in the position we're in now, which we haven't launched as yet, we hold that back. And when the time comes and we have our prices out there, where we will be comfortable with it at that point. But there was no point in giving any competitors any kind of advantage on us.
Yeah, I understand, and that is definitely something that I've seen in the industry. I used to sell computer parts, and you really do try, if the big names or the popular names are selling it for 10,000,
Yeah.
you do 9,500, 9,600, just so that you can appear cheaper, and so that is something that it's a trade-off, right? So I certainly do understand that. So two final questions or comments here. It sounds like a comment from Daniel. SOS should consider to establish a distribution company. Any comments on that?
I guess I would want a little bit more information what you're referring to. I mean,
Same.
we distribute as it is right now through our doors. We do retail. We do. Oh, that's a weird thing. We do. We sell to the general public, and we're distributing to the other islands right now. So we're acting as a wholesaler to certain avenues for those who are buying container loads and stuff. So we are presently doing distribution work.
Yeah. Daniel, give us some more insight. I'd love to hear more of what you were thinking there, because I'm thinking exactly what you just said, Alan. So Devon is asking, will there be any point where C can become its own listed company?
That's a great idea, and it's a good plan. I would love to see where Seek is in 3 to 5 years from now, to make sure it's a standalone, operating and managing itself, if you want to put it that way. As of right now, it's a part of Station Off Supplies, and presently, as a offshoot of the office of SOS, it is actually benefiting, or the overall company is benefiting from it on the JSE right now, as we are in our year 7, benefiting from half tax.
Okay, so maybe a good time is right around the 10-year mark. Who knows?
It might be.
Okay. All right. Final question here. Does SOS offer the service to import products for customers?
Absolutely. So not only do we provide what we have in our showroom and in our office right now, but if somebody, especially if it's in the lines that we're already distributing, or something in particular, we will definitely order it, bring it in specially for the particular customer, something that they want. For example, with even presently, we're doing some laboratory furniture, which is not something that we stock, but a company is very interested in doing it, kind of a chemistry lab, if you want to put it that way. And we do have some of our some of our manufacturers do these items. So it's not something we advertise, but somebody who wants it. So yes, we will bring it in for them and still be able to service it and manage the installation for them. So absolutely yes, from anything from an office supply particular product to a special kind of chair. If we don't have it, we have enough connections that I'm sure we can find it for you.
Okay, great. All right, Alan, I think those are all my questions. Is there anything that you'd like to add that maybe I forgot to ask?
No, I think you did a pretty good detailed job. Just that, we are continuing to grow. There's, we have an after supplies company. It doesn't sound all that interesting, but you can see the growth that we've had in the years. That we have a dedicated team that's looking to do better, looking to do other things. And SOS is here and we'll be here for quite a while. And the plans are to continue to grow the business, expand into different parts of Jamaica, and hopefully one day expand into the Caribbean. And our eyes are wide open to figure out what we're going to do next. We're not going to settle right now.
Okay. It does sound like you have a lot of interesting things planned. I look forward to the developments throughout the year. You're more than welcome to let us know if you have another update for your investors. We'll be happy to have you, and all the best for the year.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And hopefully the 2023 numbers will be out at the end of this month and everybody will still be happy.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for your questions. Apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. We will do our best to edit that out of the recording. It usually takes us about a day before we can do those edits. So if you're watching this on the replay before that happens, I apologize for all of the time that you had to skip through. But we will be pulling out this interview separately and posting it on our channel. You've been seeing that trend, so you can look forward to it. Let me just do a quick recap of what we spoke about today. So we started with an introduction of stock splits. We looked at the example of SOS actually and their 9-to-1 stock split. We looked at the NCB Financial Group. They had their Q1 investor briefing recently. So we went over those results. And then we closed out with an interview with the CEO of SOS, Alan McDaniel, and he shared very detailed updates as to where they are so far this year, what we can expect. As much detail as he could have said in terms of their Q4 and how they will close out 2023. And of course, he gave us great updates in terms of the product lines, plans for expansion, and what we can expect from them throughout the year. So thank you again for joining us for this episode. It was sponsored by our investment challenge, which you're more than welcome to join us. We're in our second month of the challenge. The challenge is aimed towards helping you learn how to invest. So if you're a brand new investor, you want to get started and build some momentum, feel free to join the investment challenge. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining us for this week, and I'll see you next week.